Hey, it's me, Maggie J. Today with a review of the 7th episode of Reservation Dogs called California Dreamin'. This episode focuses solely on Elora Danan, who is taking her driver's test today, which is a shock to me given the list of offenses racked up by this young driver during the time she's had her license, but don't let me get ahead of myself. Let's start from the beginning. This episode starts with a sensitive material warning, so I assume we're gonna see what happened to Daniel. Again, we open on the past, 1 year ago. Mose and Miko are singing one of their songs as they pedal down the road on these really cool looking bikes. The brothers ride past a grassy lot where we see all 5 of the kids that we've come to know so well, just having a regular afternoon. They're walking and talking about a church camp that Willie Jack went to, where she got like 13 hornet bites and had to play in a cemetery at some point. It sounds wild. They reach the end of the grass and we hear yelling and glass breaking, a typical domestic situation coming from Daniel's house. It's nearly dinner time and Bear and Willie Jack have to go, but Elora offers to walk around with Daniel for a little while so he won't have to go home. Obviously, Daniel's home life is not ideal. This is the second time we've gotten to see more than just a glimpse of him, and things are starting to make more sense. Throughout their discussion about what they're going to do, we can hear people continuing to yell and break things inside Daniel's house before the group can eventually go their separate ways. The next scene is present-day Elora at the DMV, staring at a tourist ad to visit California. One of the employees calls her name and reads off her driving record, which includes driving without a license, having her learner's permit revoked twice, and failing the driver's test 3 times. How do you even get a license after having your learner's permit revoked twice and not being 18? Maybe that's just a law here in Florida, but holy cow! Maybe watch your ass out there in Oklahoma because they might be giving licenses to just about anyone. Maybe. Might be. I don't know. I'm just reviewing a TV show. In front of the DMV, Elora leans against her car and is looking at her phone when her driving test instructor exits. And it turns out to be her old middle school basketball coach, Garrett Bobson. He also turns out to be a close friend of her mother's. They were drinking buddies back in high school and carried on their friendship right up until, you know when. He brings up a game where number 11 was having a pretty great night, but had some on-court issues that led to her getting suspended from the game and then telling the coach to fuck himself. And that's the last time they spoke. He asks her what happened to her, and she responds as if she doesn't attend school anymore, saying school just wasn't for her. He asks what she's been up to, so she tells him she's been working at the casino. But we see she's just been being a pickpocket and then selling what she's pilfered. Which makes 0 sense given how much security and surveillance is taking place at every casino I have ever heard of. This is a quick ticket to jail on some felony shit. But for the sake of this story, I'm just gonna log this on the list of things that doesn't make sense and then move on because this episode plunges depths much more significant than this. He climbs into her car, wading through the empty bags of flaming flamers and styrofoam Sonic cups. He asks her how does she see out the windshield or behind her since her front window is caked with dust and she has no rear view mirror. She shows him that her wipers do not work very well, hence the grime. And then she digs the rearview mirror out of the glove box and duct tapes it to the windshield, which I think is to highlight how little influence Elora has in her life, that she didn't consider to, nor anyone in her life tell her to clean up her car a little bit before taking a stranger on a ride-along to determine the fate of her driving future. Okay, she has been driving around for who knows how long, all by herself in her grandma's car, so this is likely not going to change a thing about her driving habits, but at least getting her license would legitimize her being behind the wheel, and I think we can all agree these kids should be striving for all the legitimacy that they can. Anyway, they hit the road and she's nervous about failing again since the lady told her it was the last time she could take the test. Bobson assures her she's got plenty more tries. They get to talking about life since they're a little bit more familiar with each other than most permit holders and driver instructors are. And this scene breaks my heart a lot because of what is said and what is not being said. Elora tells him she plans on leaving here and going to California. And he laughs and says, not in this car, which she agrees because this is her grandma's car. He asks about her grandma, and she tells him she's still mean, and she doesn't really talk to her anymore. And he says, well, she loved your mother. That must have taken a toll. And later in the episode, Alora tells Bobson, I have her same attitude, apparently, which all adds up to tell me her grandmother can't treat her appropriately because she's so much like her mother, who the grandmother's never gotten over losing, that she doesn't know how to treat Alora. Again, so much pain being suppressed through avoidance. This is not healthy for the grandmother or for Alora. But the driver's test goes on, and Bobson tells her to parallel park between two cars that are obviously way too close to actually get between. She starts crying, and Bobson hops into the driver's seat to take over and show her how it's done. Thanks, coach, she says, even after we see she is not upset at all. This woman, Devery Jacobs, is such an amazing actress. I know I've not brought it up before now because I've not been studying her before now, but I realized I have seen her in something else, and I liked her, the actress, in a supporting role that had no arc and was not written for her to display her talent, so she didn't really stand out to me. Here, she is broadcasting her talent at 100,000 watts and making me forget I'm even watching a show. While trying to get this car into the too small spot, Bobson receives a call on his cell that causes him to cut the driver's test short because he's got to go rescue his daughter from some drug dealers. He tells Alora she's been missing for like 11 days and he just got word that she's at this motel. He pulls a gun out of his boot and assures her that this is an open carry state and this is only for protection, which is so obvious when he tells her to wait here and rushes towards the motel that he saw his daughter enter with the gun in his hand. Instead of driving away in her car after he exits, she has a flashback of her and Daniel going to a country bar that doesn't card people for entry. There's a band on stage playing some real Dixie shit, but Alora and Daniel are enjoying what's going on. To me, Alora kind of looks at Daniel with some admiration in her eye, like she wouldn't mind if something more happened between them, but several people have suggested to me that they are both possibly gay, so I won't try to put any assumptions or expectations onto that relationship. So these two dance, having a good old time, but later on, after the bulk of the crowd has left the dance floor, Daniel is still hyped, wanting to dance more and to have her dance with him some more, but she's spent. Daniel continues on trying to get anybody to match his energy level, but the night is winding down, the band is playing their slower songs, and the audience is dwindling. While he's dancing alone, he bumps into a guy on the dance floor who tells him to be careful, son, and Daniel tells him to go fuck himself, displaying another dysfunction, in my opinion, of not being able to respond to confrontation without aggression or violence. He storms out of the exit, Alora apologizes and follows, and she asks where he's going because he's not walking towards home. He says he can't go home, he's just gonna walk around. As she walks towards her house, he asks if she would ever consider going to California with him, and she says yeah, she'd go with him. But this is the same outfit that he's wearing when he goes to see his Uncle Leon, so we know exactly what night this is. In current times, we hear a gunshot, and Bobson comes sprinting out to her car. She jumps into the driver's seat, but refuses to take off without him answering some questions first about what the fuck is going on. He tells her he's trying to rescue his daughter Ashley. Then someone shoots out her taillight, so she books it on out of there. While they drive, Alora asks what happened to Ashley. He says it was like a train, he couldn't stop. Just a little bit of misbehavior, falling into the wrong friend group led to her getting hooked on meth and then opioids. And now he's shooting people in hotel rooms and is sure to get fired from his driver's testing job. Alora assures him she'll cover for him. They can just tell him her car broke down. And so that's what they go with. Alora takes Coach Bobson to the salvage yard to fix her taillight, but it turns out that Kenny already knows Garrett Bobson, and then Kenny dishes out some DNA words that mean it is good, but he says that he uses that instead of hello. Kenny and Kylo Ren agree to fix up the taillight and leave Alora and the coach to hang out while they do the work. Bobson finds a basketball and encourages Alora to take some shots. We see that she is good at this. He tells her, like her mother was. This is when she says that's who she gets her attitude from, but Coach Robson rebuts her by saying that's who also gave her that smile and her caring heart. Aww. She tries to deflect the praise and asks if he would tell her about what happened to her mother. No one's ever explained it to her. She knows that it was a wreck, but not what led up to it, so he tells her that they were all drinking. All of them. That's what they did together. Cookie and her boyfriend Rodney were going to leave, but Brownie got into a fight with Rodney to try to make them stay. But in the end, Rodney won and took Cookie away in his car, and they never made it home. He tells her about a nickname that Cookie used to call him, Chokaji. Great White Warrior, she told him it meant. We can tell that he was deeply affected by the loss of his friend, and has also not dealt with it very well. Like so many of the other characters in this story. We flash back to last year. Alora knocks on Daniel's window, but he's not there. This is the night after they went to the country bar after she told him to text her, so she goes looking for him. She sends a group text asking if he was at school, but Bear says that he's not seen him, and the desk beside him is empty. Alora continues on to their abandoned building hangout, but he's not there either. There is a separate building, though, apart from the place they normally hang out, and when she walks in, she immediately sees Daniel. We can only see his feet because he's hung himself. And we can only watch as she cries out and tries to get him down. I read an article that this actress wrote about this episode and how she worked so closely with all the writers and the staff involved in this scene, but didn't look at this set before it was time. So this is her genuine response of what she saw. I feel a little guilty saying that she is a beautiful crier in this sequence, but it's true. Some crying scenes are over the top and take away from the scene, but her reaction is perfect and genuine. Her tears, her voice, her trying to lift him up, it's exactly the correct response, and the futility is just heartbreaking. We cut back to the salvage yard right after Bobson told her about her mother, which is amplifying the pain that she's thinking about. Now, I completely understand the motivations Alora has to escape this town. There is nothing but pain for her here. Her mother is gone. No one will talk to her about that or about her mother. Her grandmother can't even speak to her because she's so much like her mother. Everything she does is compared to Cookie's actions and reactions, and she has no possibility of being her own person in this place or escaping the most unhealthy coping mechanisms exhibited by everyone close to Cookie. Why wouldn't she want to seek a place that offered nothing but opportunity to live a completely different kind of life? Coach puts his arm around her and they hold hands for a moment before Kenny and Kylo approach. Again, Kenny, in all his eloquence, says it's merely $20, unless they'd like to tip. So Coach Bobson offers them $40 because yes, that is what's in his heart. And they all carry on their merry way. Alora takes Coach home and he tells her he's going to turn in her paperwork tomorrow. And congratulations, she's passed. She decides it's time to let him know that the nickname her mother gave him doesn't mean Great White Warrior like he thinks it does. It means toilet, which is of great chagrin to him because he's been touting this nickname all over the Oklahoman plains and nobody told him. But this is true to brand for Cookie, so he's not that upset about it. They part on good terms. And that is the end of the episode. There is so much that I could say about this episode, but the more I try to articulate my own feelings and opinions on it, the more I feel it takes away from the interpretation that could be had by others who watch this. We didn't get to know Daniel or his life, and what little we shown isn't great. It doesn't seem like he feels very important to the people he lives with. And despite having such great friends and extended family that he can lean on and spend his time with, it's not the same. Living in a violent household, feeling unimportant, dealing with a potentially undiagnosed condition like ADHD or bipolar, seeing no way to escape this town and the pain that it causes him. It all adds up. It makes me sad that despite probably many people caring and loving for him, that he felt that he had only one option. Ultimately, I give this 5 stars because it is a perfect explanation and a believable representation of what happened to lead up to this young boy doing what he did, and further explains why his people have reacted the way that they have. The acting was amazing. The imagery was powerful, the emotions were deep and raw, and I can't believe they let something this good be shown on television. I thought that was not allowed anymore. There is 1 episode left in this first season, and I'm hoping that we get to see the whole gang back together again because I have really missed seeing their interactions. I don't want to speculate any further than that into the final episode nor into the next season. I am fully trusting these writers and production crew to continue delivering wonderful storylines. That is all that I have to say about this. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Perhaps subscribe so that you won't miss when I post my review for the final episode in this season, which will not be very long. I am also planning one more video about Reservation Dogs to discuss some things outside the scope of like an episode recap or review. And maybe I can throw in some of my favorite video clips and memes to really fangirl it up. If Disney lets me get away with using video. I won't know till I upload, so check back soon, and y'all stay safe out there.